Okay. It's February 15th, 2026. I'm Himitsu Sensei here, Ronin Dojo. With me is Uke Dawson. We're going to talk about the throw Ogoshi, a very basic throw which comes from the Judo syllabus. We have to look at what is Jujutsu, first of all. And when we take a look at Jujutsu in the context of that, if it is Japanese, if it is period correct, if it is samurai, and all of these things, then what is Ogoshi relative to Jujutsu? Ogoshi, or major hip throw, comes from the Judo syllabus, and in Judo it is typically done from a classic entry stance where I'll drop Uke center, I'll come around, envelop his hip, step in, project my hip, and use it as the fulcrum, and throw Uke over top of my hip to score the ippon. But we have to remember that Judo is a game. And while there's a lot of interpretation of Judo into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, into this idea of self-defense, Judo has a lot of safety baked into the cake. Specifically, this is mano a mano. We're wearing the same uniform that gives us leverage. We have mats, we have timing, we have referees, we have rules, and this is why Judo is a game. Jiu-Jitsu is not a game. Jiu-Jitsu is combat. So then what does Ogoshi come, or what is Ogoshi relative to Jiu-Jitsu and to combat? So if we take a look at this principle, that if Dawson has a sword and he means to cut me with shomanuchi, don't knock my lights down, and he cuts, he's cutting with this part of the sword. And we're going to call this the cutting arc of the sword. And we're going to refer to this over and over again. So that if I'm going to back up from Dawson, he's going to keep on cutting me. I can't back up. And for those use of force experts, so-called use of force experts that always talk about wanting to get off the line, if I move off the line from the sword and I'm still in the same distance, then all Dawson's going to do is he's going to cut me at a different angle. But he's going to still cut me because I'm still in the cutting arc of the sword. I can't back up fast enough. I can't move off the line within this range fast enough to avoid the sword. So there's only one place that is a safe place for me in the context of samurai sword fighting. And so when Dawson rises up, I have to be inside the cutting arc of the sword, which renders the sword useless. Okay? Even if he does come in with the cut, I'm going to come in with Ogoshi, I want to be inside the cutting arc of the sword in order to throw this and dispatch my opponent. Okay? So again, we ask ourselves, what is Ogoshi relative to the Jiu-Jitsu syllabus as it comes from Judo? So here's Dawson coming in with I want to be inside the cutting arc of his sword. I cut, I deflect, I project the hip, but use this energy, his cutting energy. Here, it's his energy that throws him. The difference again in Judo being a game, I can pick Dawson up and throw him over my hip. I'm expending energy outside of my center, outside of hara. If this is battlefield jiu-jitsu, and I'm inclined to do this, there are a couple of problems. One is if we're both wearing oyoroi armor on the battlefield, I'm never going to be able to get this hip penetration anyway. So the likelihood of Ogoshi being an advent of the Edo period, where oyoroi was obsolete, at least insofar as street brawling, maybe not so much battlefield, but for street brawling, oyoroi was obsolete. Even the collar from one of my teachers, who is an expert in Japanese armor restoration during the Edo period, this collar and inside the kimono would have largely been armed with, or armored with chainmail, which gave structure to the kimono. If I was going to throw Dawson, all he was wearing was silk pajamas, then I'd be throwing silk pajamas and Dawson would be standing there in all his glory. So, going back to Ogoshi, I'm using hara here as a fulcrum, like the rock in the river. And in order for me to not have to expend my energy to pick Dawson up and throw him, it has to be Dawson's energy that's going to project him over this fulcrum. He is the river. This is the energy of the river flowing over the rock. Okay. In that way, his energy defeats him. This is what Ju is. Ju is yielding. Judo interpret it as the soft art. There's nothing soft about judo. There's nothing soft about jujitsu. I would even argue there's nothing soft about the Aiki schools. They've just kind of lost their way. But this softness is the fact that I'm simply yielding to Dawson's projection of his energy, whether it's in Shomanuchi with the sword, or whether it's going to be in the round punch, or it's going to be any other entry that we do. Dawson's energy is going to, all I'm doing is I'm providing a fulcrum for his energy to fall over. And we'll explore more of that in future lessons. So as I cut, I give him the fulcrum, and it's his energy that throws him over. I can see in students when I see this, and this follow through, that it's the back arm, it's the right arm that's pushing and lifting Uke over the fulcrum. But if Dawson makes that punch hard enough, I don't have to do anything. It's his energy that's going to take him. So the idea with this right punch, all I want to do is to help that energy continue in the line that I want it to move in. And so from the right punch, I make my S block and allow that energy to continue through. We call this the drawing hand. Okay, that Uke's projection through his arm is the hand, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to control him high and draw that energy through on the line and just draw him over the fulcrum without having to expend my own energy. Going back to the lesson of the 100 opponents, that if we're both wearing our Oyoroi armor, and I'm going to be wearing this armor for a month if we're out in a campaign, that if I'm going to fight Dawson, and we'll discuss why we end up fighting hand-to-hand in future lessons. But if I've lost my sword, I dropped my sword, tactically or otherwise, and I'm fighting with Dawson, and we're like, and I'm going to pick him up, this very mass-centralized, short Japanese warrior wearing 60 pounds of armor, and I'm going to pick him up, jab, 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 and I'm going to dispatch this opponent. Okay, well, Dawson is twins, there's another one. And he comes in, and I say, and I grab him, and I pick him up, and I dispatch him. And I'm getting tired. I picked up 2 of these little guys already, and it's a good thing that it's feudal Japan, so I'm working out at Crunch Fitness, practicing on the treadmill, getting my air up. And there's a third guy, and I say, and I grab him, and I manage to throw him and dispatch him. But I fought 3 guys now, and I'm never going to get to the 100th guy because I'm going to gas myself out because I'm expending my energy in forcefully picking my opponents up. And so the way for me to conserve my energy, and this is part of the principle of energy conservation, is to not expend my energy, to let my Uke expend his energy, and to simply yield to his energy flow, provide the fulcrum, and let him throw himself. That energy moves, and he throws himself over, and I don't expend energy. So given that any technique that we do has to come from the parent sword technique, so we've evidenced the effectiveness of Ogoshi from Shomanuchi, notwithstanding the fact that there is difficulty with the armor and the period. We've evidenced this from the round punch. 2 other basic entries that we practice here, Ryote Munidori, or double-handed chest grab. Dawson has created a solid frame here between his shoulders, his arms, and his structure. And so now I have to break this line of energy, and I have to create his energy. Dawson's energy now is static, it's not moving. I need his energy to be dynamic so that I can yield to it in the creation of my fulcrum. So I have to soften this energy. The energy can only be in one place at one time. So when I distract, I'm able to break the frame, enter, and again, using the drawing hand, then I'm able to apply osewaza. In Ryote Kotedori, in a double-handed grab, again, we see this same frame that Dawson has created. He's keeping my hands here in one place at one time. It could be that I have a weapon and he's trying to brace my arm so that I can't use it. So again, I'm going to break the energy of that frame, draw Dawson through so I can embrace his center, and use that drawing hand in order to manipulate Dawson over the floor. So these are the basic principles of Ogoshi.